Are you dealing with cultural change, but things are not exactly going as planned? Well, keep on watching. My name is Isabella Brusati and I'm the founder of Isabella Brusati Consulting. We specialize on change management with a specific focus on the people aspects of mergers and acquisitions. In this series of videos, I'm going to talk about organizational culture, the elements of culture, and what to do in order to change organizational culture. In the previous video, I have discussed the reason why organizational culture is a fundamental and key element for financial success. In this video, I will be talking about the definition of culture and the elements that compose culture. Because if we do not know how culture is basically put together, so what are the elements that make culture, it becomes fundamentally impossible to change it. It is possible to change culture, it is not easy. I would like to start with the definition of culture. There are probably over 100 definitions, but I like to keep things simple. The aim of these videos is being very pragmatic and basically to give you the tools to be able to change culture effectively. The definition that I prefer is this one, which is culture is how things are done around here. So it's how things are done in a specific place. So in this case, in a specific organization. With regards to the elements of culture that we need to be aware of, I like to use the model that was elaborated by Shane. It's by no means perfect. There is not a perfect model, there is nothing that is encompassing all the aspects of culture, but I found that this model, especially when I go through it with my clients, is very easy to understand and actually gets to go through the moment. So let's have a look at the elements that characterize a company culture. Okay, we can see that there are three different levels. We go from the superficial manifestation of culture down to the deepest level of culture. So the artifacts are the elements that we can more easily observe. Artifacts are things like stories, myths, jokes, metaphors, rites, rituals and ceremonies, very important, heroes and symbols. I will be discussing every single of these three different levels in more detail in the next few videos. What I find really helpful in order to understand the different levels of culture is to use the iceberg. So it's actually to think about culture as an iceberg, and this being the level of the sea, and this is basically only the tip of the iceberg. The tip of the iceberg is being composed by the artifacts, so it's what we can see, so we can observe. The rest of the culture basically goes deep down, and we can see that the tip of the iceberg is only 10%. So we can observe only a very small amount of what it is in organizational culture. There are then basically more in-depth elements that can be assessed, but for example, they are not very easily assessed via, for example, having a conversation with a manager or by going into a building. We can still get some glimpses of culture, but it's not enough. And these are the beliefs, values, and attitudes. If we go back to the iceberg, we will see that this is basically more in depth. So we need specific tools to evaluate and assess the beliefs, values and attitudes. Again, in the next video I will be talking about this element in more detail, because first we need to understand what we mean with these three words in order to be able to assess them. Then we got the third level, which is basically the root, if we can call it like that, of the iceberg. So it's the root of the culture, and this is the basic assumptions. Basic assumptions can be modified, but it takes time. So when we face resistance to change, fundamentally, this is the first level that we are facing, but this is what is really, hard to penetrate and change. Basic assumptions are relating to the environment, reality, human nature, human activity, and human relationships. So we can see that whilst culture is basically something that can be easily defined, when we look at how it is composed, in order to be able to understand the different elements and to implement specific tools to change the culture, to make it go in a direction that is going to help the company to be more successful and basically performing better, well, more elements are popping up, and all of a sudden this doesn't look as fluff anymore, does it? One of the myths that I invariably am faced with is culture cannot be measured, culture is fluff. I have prepared a document that I am going to provide you for free. You just have to click the link in the description box to download it. And I'm going to give you an overview of the methodologies that you can use in your organization in order to measure culture. This series of videos has amongst its aims the one to debunk the myths around culture. Let's bring the culture to the strategic table, and most of all, by understanding what is culture and its element, let's be much more proactive and efficient in changing the company culture, because it is possible. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.